and welcome to Shadow School. My name is Matt Sandbank. Today we're going to be making robot puppets. Now if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you some special props you can make that go along really well with this puppet. Here are the materials you need for this shadow puppet. Alrighty, for this robot, we're going to start by breaking down our cereal box so we have just a single cardboard panel. And let's start with the robot's head. One of my favorite things about robots is, most of my puppets tend to have rounded edges and circles because they tend to be animals. They're not really in straight lines. I like the kind of inorganic nature of the robot where it's by contrast, these right angles, these edges. So we're going to start by making something kind of a squat rectangle for the robot's head. We're going to add a little antenna here at the top so he can receive signals. A little dot for eyes right there and right there. Though you can put the eyes almost anywhere you like. I kind of think it's cute with these wide set eyes, but you can do those dots anywhere you like. We'll put these little bolts on the side, almost like ears, but just to give that head a little bit more detail. The head will attach to the body with a neck, and that neck, again, because it's a robot, can be just these simple angular shapes, a little rectangle there, and we'll put a dot on either end there, and then that'll end up attaching to the robot's head right about there. Looks like a cute little mouth, but this bottom one will actually be the joint where the neck attaches. For the body of the robot, we're going to try to make the body a little wider than the head is. So the head's like here and here, and so let's make that body just a little bit wider than that. Let's make a square. Okay, maybe more of a rectangle, something close to a square though. And then let's make a platform at the bottom, kind of like, let's imagine a bunch of rolly wheels that kind of meet up or have this little guard over them like that. That angle is not quite right. Let's do like that. Maybe like that. Remember, the audience won't see all of your mistakes. They just see the final outside line. So make sure you're satisfied with it before moving on, and don't be afraid to make some revisions. Okay, so that'll be the body of the robot. We're going to add arms to this robot, but first let's cut these parts out and join them. Figuring out where the arms fit will be easier done once the rest of the puppet is put together. So let's go ahead and cut out the pieces. Another thing I like about the robot is it's easier than most of my puppets to cut out. Because it's a lot of long straight lines, it cuts out a lot faster than my other puppets. That said, if I'm going faster than you are, just pause the video so that you can catch up. I'll wait for you as long as you need, as long as you keep that video paused. The head here is just a little bit trickier than the rest because we added those bolts onto the side of the head, and we added that antenna onto the top of the head. If you want to give yourself a really easy puppet and leave those parts off, you can certainly do that and decide how necessary they really are to your robot. I'm going outside the line a little bit there. That's fine. If it ends up looking too big, I can always cut some away. You're always allowed with your shadow puppets to cut a little bit outside the lines and then cut some extra away if you need to. It's easier than cutting too far inside the line because then it's really hard to add more onto your puppet. What you often have to do in that case is redraw your puppet entirely, which is not a huge disaster, but easier to just do a few extra cuts, I think, than have to completely redo your drawing. All right, let's go ahead and punch out each of these holes. Remember, these top two ones are decoration holes. Those are for the eyes. They're not functional. That means they're not part of how the puppet works. They're just about how the puppet looks. And, oh, I forgot to draw a little dot down here, right around the center, about there. Okay, we need 2 brads, otherwise known as paper fasteners, otherwise known as metal doohickeys. We are going to line up the 2 holes, drop the brad through, pinch it down, and then separate the 2 tabs like that. We're going to do it for the bottom of the neck, and then we're going to do it for the top of the neck. Now these eyeballs can just be blank, but I think that a robot looks best when it has those kind of classic red eyeballs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tape over here, over these eyeballs, both on the front and the back, so that the sticky part of the tape gets covered up. And then I'm going to just grab a red marker and color those eyeballs. I have this fancy red marker, but really any washable marker should do the trick just fine. Make sure you color on the back of the puppet, because if you color on the front of the puppet, on the other side, what's going to happen is you could get color smudges on your shadow puppet screen. Okay, so most of the puppet is done, and in fact, you could add rods to the head and the body here and have a good robot, but I think it looks better with some arms. So to get both the arms to work at the same time, this is why I had you make the puppet and put it together first, is we want the arms to go out beyond either side of the robot's body. So we're going to put a little line on either side. That's how we know where the body ends. And then we're going to draw short little lines there. And we're going to join these with kind of a little rounded line there. The reason it's rounded is just to give it more cardboard. The thinner your cardboard is, the less firm and less support your puppet has, the more bendy it is. So whenever possible, we're going to give those puppets a little bit more surface area. Here's where the claws of the robot will join. So we're going to do 2 angles out like that, then a straight line, then a tiny little line, and we're going to follow it back, kind of like a horseshoe shape. Angle out, straight to the side, little bit, and then follow it back in. All right, and then a dot's going to go right there in the middle. So let's cut that out. This one, because it's got all these thin pieces, is going to be a little bit trickier to cut out. Be especially careful on the inside of the robot claw, because that's where it's real easy to make some accidental cuts. If you're worried, cut on the outside of that line so you don't make any huge mistakes that can't be fixed. Cutting away some of the extra cardboard so that there's less to get in the way of my hand and fingers. You can see, because the cardboard's so thin, it kind of bows a little bit. It wants to bend, and sometimes it's okay to just manipulate the cardboard to get it a little more straight, but it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, let's add a punch right there in the middle there. Now you can add the arms in the middle here. You can one way to do this is to get it placed where you want and then draw your dot. Now the hole punch won't fit all the way in there, so you just do a little slit here. We cut a little slit that goes right up to that hole, and then I can separate these pieces of cardboard like this, and it lets me get that hole punch right in there. Oops, I missed it. It can be a little tricky, so be slow and take your time with that so you don't rip your puppet. But then you can see you can get in there. Then all you do is you put a piece of tape on the front of this slit that you cut and then fold it around back, and the audience will never know the difference. Okay, then we take one more brad, line up those arm. Oh, you know what? Actually, sorry. Most of the time you put the pieces of the puppet together and then you add the rods, but for this robot it's actually going to be easier to add the arm rod before you join it together. Because the arm is so skinny, you're going to want to wrap some tape around it, and that's easier to do when the puppet is not already attached. So we're going to take that bendy straw, bend it into an L, and then we're going to, it's probably a little bit too long, so we're going to cut down just a little bit of that straw. Then we're going to tape it just to the right or just to the left of that hole where the bend of the straw is right next to the hole there. If the puppet is flat on your work surface, you want your straw sticking straight up in the air. Just going to lay that piece of tape down and then fold it underneath so that that straw is held on there really well. Then once that's done, we're going to line these holes up, drop a brad through, pinch it, turn it over, and separate those two tabs like that. And then we need a rod on the head of the robot so that it can look this way and that and generally go where you want it to go. Puppet's flat on the work surface, straw is sticking straight up in the air. Lay this piece of tape down. If there's any that goes over the top of the head, just fold it under. And I think this one will be best with two pieces of tape on it, like that. What would you do with a robot if you had a robot of your very own? For me, I might program it to clean my room. And so I made a broom for this robot puppet. It looks like this. Or instead, I might program this robot to dance, in which case I would make it a boombox, like this. And you can make any prop you want for your robot. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you enjoy making shadow puppets like this robot with me. Thank you so much for joining me at Shadow School. My name is Matt Sandbank. See you next time.